Why am I making a video about Draymond Green? Because I feel like it. Fuck you, I don't need to explain myself. Intro. So that was definitely the record for the shortest intro I've ever done. Hello, like and subscribe. What's my line? Before I continue on this video, that's it. Before I continue on this video, half the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you want the 50... Just subscribe. I'm clearly fucking up my line today. Also drop a like. The reason people ask for likes is because it's good. This is like my 6th video recording today. Can you tell that I'm done? Okay, anyways, I will actually explain myself as to why I felt like making a video about Draymond Green. As for why I'm doing it now in particular, I do not know. This is just something that has been lingering in my brain for quite a while, and there's not much else to talk about, so now I guess is a good time. But Draymond Green has been one of the most disrespected and underappreciated talents in the NBA really ever since he became a household name back in 2015, and the misunderstanding of his game, whether it comes from willful ignorance, just from hating him, or just outright stupidity, it is very, very frustrating to me. It very much seems like people choose to not understand what Draymond is good at in order to shit on him, like tweets saying that Dennis Rodman is what Draymond thinks that Draymond is, but no, Draymond's right to think he's on a tier of Bulls Dennis Rodman, for God's sakes. And for the people who aren't willfully ignorant and just outright ignorant, I don't mean to sound like an elitist, but I really feel like not understanding Draymond's game comes from being a casual for the most part, which is fine. You're allowed to be a casual. We don't have to shit on casuals all the time. Everyone starts somewhere. I started off being a casual too, as did you if you're not. But, you know, your opinions are probably terrible if you are. I know mine were. When I first got into basketball, I didn't understand why the Heat started Dwayne Wade over Ray Allen because Ray Allen was a better shooter. Clearly I was ahead of time in valuing shooting, but that was stupid. Draymond isn't out there dropping 20 or 30 points on a regular basis, or hitting tween-hezzy step-back shots, or dunking on people. However, his all-around game outside of those aspects can be so impactful that he's better than a lot of the players that are more than capable of doing those things at an elite level. Draymond's game has a lot of the more nuanced and smaller details implemented into it, and he does all those at a great rate, but the flashier and more skilled aspects of the game, as people like to put it, not so great at those. As for that kind of stuff, first we're gonna have to talk about his defense, because that's what stands out the most. Draymond is arguably the best team defender of all time. At the very least, he is in that conversation, and his defensive communication in particular is what really sets him apart. I can't call him the best at defensive communication because we're not on the floor with these guys and we can't really hear what they're saying outside of a couple mic'd up moments, not to mention taking it back to fucking Bill Russell in the 60s if we're talking all time here. But I'd say right now, from what we can see, from what we can gather, Draymond by far appears to be the best team defender in the game, and it's certainly something that stands out with him in terms of his communication. Draymond is someone that you can constantly see orchestrating traffic on defense, pointing out and reading the play as it's happening, or really even before it's happening and predicting what's going to happen, and then telling his teammates where to be to interrupt the offense and what it's trying to do, because he can anticipate what the offense is going to try to do. In many ways, Draymond is essentially a defensive coordinator for the rest of his teammates while also being on the floor with them. He's calling the plays and telling his teammates what spots they need to be, and that combination of both coaching his teammates defensively and being able to be on the floor at the same time so he gets the perfect angle on everything, that is incredibly invaluable and very, very rare. His defensive impact goes far beyond his one-on-one ability. He's both a great defender and a great defensive coach in one. His defensive one-on-one ability is also immaculate. He can defend damn near anyone. Even against bigger players, he plays larger than his size. Even players who could out-physical him are definitely gonna work for it. Draymond is never just a free bucket. Even if there are players where there is a mismatch, there's a difference between kind of a mismatch and an outright mismatch. Draymond is never just an outright mismatch to anybody. Can Draymond slow down Joel Embiid? No, but is he just going to get bitched switched possession after possession? Not really, and that says a lot because Draymond is a significantly smaller man than Joel Embiid. But not only is Draymond this good at calling shots on the fly as they happen, but he's also great at coaching his teammates in terms of defense. We saw especially in the 2021 season that he was constantly in the ears of Andrew Wiggins and James Wiseman. I just wish he would have whispered, "Get fucking vaccinated, Andrew," at one point. But regardless, defensively, we saw how that impacted them, especially Andrew. And overall as a teammate, while his style does not necessarily appeal to everyone, as I think we saw with that sit-down interview with Kevin Durant, at the end of the day, I think his style works and is effective when you have the personnel that are there for it. And when we talk about the Warriors system and the Warriors culture and all the success that we know that brought, Draymond is the biggest part of that after Steph, like by far. Yes, more so than Clay or Steve Kerr or anything like that. Draymond in many ways seems like the most vocal leader, and just as Steph is the Warriors' offensive system, Draymond is the Warriors' defensive system. As for offense, Draymond more or less now is just barely a positive offensive player. His playmaking is great and especially impactful within that system, but his scoring and lack of shooting is really bad. But in years previous, when Draymond could shoot at about a league average percentage from outside on a decent amount of volume, I would say he was a good to sometimes even really good offensive player within that Warrior system, because the combination of him and Steph in the pick and roll with Draymond's playmaking, with all the shooting that the Warriors had on the perimeter, as well as a lob target at the rim in the dunker spot, that was one of the best plays in the history of basketball, and to some extent is still up there, but the fact that he's not a threat on the pop or the roll really is a bit of a problem for sure. By the way, it's also undermentioned how great of a playmaking duo Steph and Draymond are. There are very few duos in the history of the game between two players who are better at playmaking collectively between the two of them. Just like there's no better shooting backcourt, there are very few better playmaking pairs in the history of basketball. Also, people just never seem to give credit to Draymond for his passing. I've been quoted in the past as saying that Draymond is a good passer that within the Warrior system appears to be a great one, and to some extent I think that's true, but even then he's proven to have high assist numbers in a not as good offensive system as he did last year, so I feel like that's not really that valid of a criticism, and I think I was going a little too contrarian in the past. It's kind of annoying how his playmaking is not often credited enough, and it's kind of in a similar vein to how Steph Curry's gravity is not credited enough. It's like, you guys watch the Warriors be dominant, how can you not point out these easily noticeable factors in how good the Warriors are? To put it simply, the reason why Draymond is often misunderstood and by extension disrespected is the fact that people do not pay attention to the more nuanced elements of the game, and that is what Draymond excels at, while the obvious stuff he doesn't so much. Scoring the basketball is the easiest thing to get the idea of when watching basketball. It requires very little attention and very little understanding of the game to watch a ball go in the basket. That is easy, anyone can do it, but you'll grow to appreciate players like Draymond Green if you go out of your way to look for those kinds of things. I understand where the hatred towards Draymond comes, because he is someone who talks a lot of shit, and in the mind of some people you can really only talk shit if you're like a scoring big dog type of player, but fuck that. Draymond's impact is so amazing that he has all the right in the world to talk shit about how good he is, because while he might not be good in a way that's entertaining to you, or he might not be good in an aesthetically pleasing way, he's absolutely good and he's earned the right to talk shit. So that is the misunderstood genius of Draymond Green. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video. He's such a Draymond fan that I'm sure he's happy to edit this one without pay. So appreciate that, Rudy. It's a joke, by the way. I pay my editors, unlike some people. But yeah, that is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.